Good afternoon and welcome to the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee for Thursday, March the 13th. We'll start off with a roll call, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Hagan. Councillor Campbell.
Present.
Councillor Crowson.
Present.
Councillor Dodick.
Person.
Councillor Middleton Hope.
Present.
Councillor Parker.
Present.
Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Here.
I guess it's Vice Chair Schmidt-Rempel. My apologies. Acting Mayor Carlson.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Palladino.
Here.
Mayor Hagan. All present. Thank you.
Fine. So, acknowledgement statement. The City of Lethbridge acknowledges that we're gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot people, past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationships to the land. The City of Lethbridge offers respect to the Métis and all who have lived on this land and made Lethbridge their home. So for the adoption of the agenda, I have a motion from Councillor Dodick. Be it resolved that the March 13th, 2025 agenda of the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee be adopted as amended to include.
I do have 2 items to add to today's agenda if committee wishes. 2 closed items. The first one is provincial budget and tariff considerations. That would be confidential item 7.1, as well as capital improvement program update, verbal, and that would be confidential item 7.2. And if council wishes to add these, we would request a brief break to upload them into the closed agenda. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Dodick.
These are to be in the closed session? Why?
Correct.
Why?
Do you want to, City Manager, do you want to speak to the first one? Or do you?
How long are you going to be on that for?
I'll speak to the second one. The second one was some questions that Councillor Middleton Hope had from Tuesday's meeting that got missed, and they are confidential questions.
And the first one, again, it's just updates and considerations that have various potential impacts that we should discuss with council prior to proceeding.
The other thing is, if we find in close that it should not, Councillor Dodick, absolutely, put the hand up and we move him into public. Yep. Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
So which sections would these, FOIP would these fall under?
One second, I have it. Okay, so the first one, provincial budget and tariff considerations, section 21, harmful to intergovernmental relations, section 24, advice from officials, section 25, economic and other interests, and the second one, capital improvement program update, would be section 24, advice from officials, section 25, economic and other interests. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crowson.
Thank you. When we were discussing on Tuesday, I thought we were also going to add the tartans to this meeting. Should that instead be a motion to bring to next council? I mean, it's not a big one, and it doesn't have a timeline, but I thought we had had a conversation on Tuesday that when these were going to be added, we were also going to look at adding that one. And it's not closed. It's just about whether or not we want to join with them, but it has to be discussed in a relatively quick fashion so the weavers know how to proceed. But I can make it a motion and bring it forward on the 25th if we want to do it more formally.
I think that's probably best, and because it still gave time, from what I recall from our meeting on Tuesday, to be by the end of the month. Is that correct? I think it was.
We have till May 1st. Well, they have to get their order in by May 1st, but if we say
like
no, they need to find someone else.
Yep.
All right, so I'll do it as a formal motion for the 25th meeting. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, Councillor Dodick, if everyone is okay with those additions as amended, Councillor Dodick? Questions have been called. All in favor? Online?
I will need the people
yes.
online to have a show of hands.
Councilor Midland Hope, yes. And I can also, and similar to before, thank you, that's all. Is it taken that they are in favor unless, or do you need to have?
I need to have confirmation from them of some sort.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the the consent agenda. From Councillor Parker, be it resolved the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee. Oh, I'm sorry, we do have to upload the documents that have been included to the public agenda. All right, we can continue. We have updated the online agenda. So with that, we'll move to the consent agenda from Councillor Parker. Be it resolved, the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee approve the minutes of the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee meeting held on February 13th, 2025, and authorize the Mayor and City Clerk to sign the same. And number 2, receive for information status of initiatives for March 13th, 2025. Councillor Parker.
I would just call the question, Mr. Mayor.
Question's been called. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. We have no presentations today, but we do have some submissions. And we'll start off with the resolution and then open it up to questions. A downtown Lethbridge Business Revitalization Zone 2025 budget. From Acting Mayor Carlson, and be it resolved, the Economic Standing Policy Committee recommend to City Council approve the Downtown Business Revitalization Zone, the DBRZ, 2025 budget of $283,492 in accordance with the Business Improvement Area Regulations, Alta Reg 93/2016 at Section 11. So, as a submission, are there questions for Councillor? Councillor Carlson, actually, I think is it Crystal here? Oh, but we do have some from the BRZ, so if there's any questions, seeing none, to open debate, Acting Mayor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an annual event. The Downtown Lethbridge BRZ creates their budget, presents it to their members, and then it has to come to council once approved for us to add it to the levy. So unless there's any other questions, I will call for the vote.
I do have questions. Councillor Dodick.
Yeah, it's more of a point of order. Can I wear a hat if I'm in council chambers, or is that only allowed when you're online? Nice try, Jeff.
All right. And thank you. I see no further debate. And thank you, Miss Amies. I see Miss Amies there to
Hand is
answer all of the
raised.
millions of questions we would have had for you, Miss Amies. But appreciate you being here. Back to you, Councillor Carlson, to close debate.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I know that Councillor Middleton Hope has a question. I'm just wondering if there was anyone in the gallery who wanted to speak to this as well.
Yes, and we will ask that. Thank you. Councillor Middleton Hope, to start.
Thank you. And this question is to the mover and to the city manager or designate. I take it that this budget increase as requested by the Downtown Business Revitalization Zone has no additional financial impact on the city, and funds actually come from the members that are a part of this organization. Is that correct?
You are correct, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now, is there anyone from the public who wishes to make a presentation on this? Second time, anyone? And a third time. All right. With that, back to you, Acting Mayor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I go comb my hair, I will call for the vote.
All right. Question's been called. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Next, I have a submission for a Lethbridge and District Exhibition Memorandum of Understanding, MOU update, and the resolution, but I'll go to questions after. Be resolved, the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee received the Lethbridge and District Exhibition Memorandum of Understanding, MOU update report for information. To open questions, Councillor Dodick.
Yeah, you want to go to quarterly reports as opposed to monthly reports? Is that a manpower thing? Is it a cost thing? So just a little explanation as to why, please.
Thank you, members of Economic SPC, and to Councillor Dodick. That is correct. It's to do with the timing it takes for both the LDE and ourselves going to quarterly reporting. And because now we've got it a bit more stabilized in the funding that we approved in December of last year. But here again, too, that's just a recommendation, and we're hoping that that is something that is agreeable to council.
And that is in 6.3, Councillor Dodick. That's the next one as far as any financial reporting.
Okay, I just asked a question because I always get confused by this when it says quarterly. Okay.
Right.
So is it every 3 months or is it every 4 months? And
quarterly is every 3 months.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I think I can be corrected, is what I've understood. But thank you. And that is coming up here on the next one, and it's report 6.3. But for 6.2 from Councillor Campbell, is there any further questions? Seeing none, to open debate, Councillor Campbell.
No, I have no further debate. This is for information. So unless there's any other questions, and I guess Councillor Middleton Hope has a question.
Yes, Councillor Middleton Hope.
He does have a question. This is a question for the city manager or designate. At what point will independent review report come to Economic SPC? As part of this report, will we see a proposal on the structure of an independent board?
Thank you, members of Economic SPC, to Councillor Middleton Hope. In regards to that, there is going to be work that, as part of the timelines coming up, there will be some information coming to council, the next Economic, as the first part, but that'll be some of the closed session work on the stakeholder side, and then you will see that in May or June. What we mentioned last meeting was to be in June, but it could be as early as May, coming back to Economic C for public.
Okay, so thank you. I'm sorry, did you say it was April the 10th was the first meeting that we're going to have any kind of a response on this?
Yes, that'll be April 10th in closed session. That's where Deloitte, who's working with us on that phase, will come work with administration and have the first workshop piece with members of City Council.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dodick.
You said April 10, right?
That is correct.
The reason that pops in my mind is because I see that that meeting date has been pushed till 9 a.m. Based on the anticipation that the folks that want to speak with respect to the coal issue may be showing up. So is it wise, bearing in mind that there may be a technical nature to this report, to have that done on the same day? Because you never know when the one's going to finish, and then that's the problem.
So thank you for the question, Councillor Dodick. In that regard, what we've the agenda piece on that. The morning will be the closed session components starting at 9 o'clock, which will have what I'm referring to on the MCC front, a couple items there, and if I might have to have Ms. Hilford help me out in the afternoon of the time frame for when we're doing it. But we've kind of structured the day knowing that.
As well, the public portion of the meeting would start at 12:30. There's a couple items there, and I believe the coal watershed item is the last item, and I think we put it for 2 o'clock, 1:30 or 2 o'clock.
Want to make sure that, we want to make sure they give opportunities. If someone is not here from first thing in the morning, that we know that it does start at 2 p.m. for that particular resolution. Right. With that, I see no further questions. So, Councillor Campbell, open debate.
Is there anybody else in the audience that wants to make a comment?
For 6.2, for second time, third time, anybody wish to speak to 6.2 Lethbridge District MOU update? Seeing none, Councillor Campbell.
Okay. I'll just call the questions for information.
Question called. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. And 6.3, the Lethbridge District monthly financial reporting, moved by Councillor Middleton Hope, and this does require a 2/3 vote. Be it resolved that Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee receive for information the Lethbridge District LDE monthly financial operating report for the month ended December 24th and the 2024 audited financial statements. And further be resolved that the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee recommends that Council, number one, rescind a portion of their March 12th, 2024 below direction by deleting the word monthly and replacing with quarterly. So to provide quarterly Lethbridge District Exhibition Operating Report to the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee. And number two, direct administration to provide the quarterly, that's every 3 months, Lethbridge District Exhibition Operating Reports commencing with the June 12th, 2025 meeting of the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee. To open up to questions. Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to LDE for providing this. A question to the city manager designate. When we took a look at the audited financials done by Avail, I guess my question is that Avail also did the audited financials under the previous management of LDE, and I went back and looked at those audited financials and didn't see the issues that we found came out through the Deloitte report and that we are now investigating. So how do we help the public understand what the processes are around this, how maybe one financial group wasn't looking at those unaudited financials, how those were maybe missed and not reported on? Help me understand that. And then what are the best practices around that when we have a financial group that didn't identify issues under a previous management? Now we're investigating this group, and now we have audited financials coming from the previous group that didn't have comments. I think it's important for the public to understand how that all works.
Thank you, members of SPC and Councillor Schmidt-Rempel, in regards to this. So one of the things I'll I'll answer in a couple different ways here on this one here, on it here, and I might even have to, I'm not sure if Mr. Kingsmith in there has it on the contract side there for Avail, if he knows that one or not. But the reality on this is two different things. So every auditor will take a look at controls and so forth in an organization. But they do that as part of their testing on the financial side. Depending on the nature of it, though, when it comes to things, of some of the things that you would look into, or what the Deloitte report looked into, and for example, would be beyond the scope of what they would look at in the financial audit. If you notice on the actual independent audit report, they talk about the responsibility of management charge of the governance of those financial statements. So the management at the time of that group there would be responsible for some of that to ensure policies and so forth and everything else in place. It's not that they don't look at controls. They will do testing on controls and so forth on that. So like, for example, some of the areas in procurement and so forth. But that's not their pure focus in the past. Regardless of that, there's also other pieces in here too that, on the financial audit, my understanding is, I could be wrong, that they're still under contract for Avail. Avail's still under contract for a period of time. And so based on that contract, they continued on with the servicing of that. Additionally, I would have to say too, there was nothing inside of in the findings that would actually have any concerns directly towards Avail. And I just want to make sure, from that point of view, that there was no findings that was looking at Avail and their processes of what they did in the financial audit. I'm not sure if I answered all your question on that. But.
So what would best practices be around this then, given that we are undertaking such an in-depth review of this group? And how do we assure the public that the information we're getting is accurate information that we're able to make good decisions on, and that we don't have concerns with the information that we're receiving? I just really want to make sure that the public understands we're doing our due diligence on this.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Rebel. I'm totally understanding that what you're trying to do is just make sure the confidence there and so forth, the information is coming forward. So here again, too, regardless of which firm it is, there's auditing standards and components they have to go through for financials. You will see certain notifications inside of these statements talking about going concern and the different items on it. So as part of their audit, they will be looking at this in future pieces, and they would have also taken it, I'm sure without speaking directly on that, because obviously I'm not LDE admin from that point of view, but at the same time, they would have actually talked to LD administration in regards to the actual Deloitte report, and if there's anything inside of that they would have to take into consideration on these. The reality is that on the financial side, they've gone through and taken a look at it based on those accounting standards, and they've gave a clean audit.
Okay. I'll step out for now. I do have another question though, but I'll step out for now.
Thank you. Councillor Middleton Hope.
Thank you, Your Worship. The question would be to the city manager or designate. I noticed in the report that we have 34 new events that will be coming forward in 2025. I'm wondering what the total number of events are for 2025, and are we seeing an increase over 2024, 2023? And last, are we seeing trending in the right direction in terms of stemming the negative flow of finances out of the Lethbridge and District Exhibition and beginning to see the tide turning?
Mr. Kingsmith is here to, well, speak to that question, Councillor.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, members of the Economic SPC, and thank you for the question.
Mr. Kingsmith, I was just going to say, you want to raise that up?
Perfect.
All right.
New technology. Yes, in terms of the number of events that we have confirmed for the upcoming year, we have 129 confirmed events for 2025, and overall we have events booked right through 2028. In the past month, we have confirmed 25 new events for this year, as well as 2 new events for the upcoming year in 2026. We are well ahead of last year's pace. I don't have the exact number with me right now, but I can get that for you. But we are fair ways ahead of last year's pace, and we are at 55% of our projected budget for 2025 already, only 3 months into our fiscal year. So we are trending very much in the right direction when it comes to the events that we have booked and what is happening on the event rental side.
Councillor Middleton Hope?
Yep, thank you. That's a significant improvement, and I appreciate that. Thank you. The next question then, I guess, would be to Mr. Matthews through the city manager in regards to trending in the right direction. Mr. Matthews, did you want to weigh in on that?
He just needs 1 second.
Thank you, Councillor Middleton Hope. My apologies, I was answering a different question. In regards to the trend inside of there, yes, we have seen going from a loss projected of about 6.5 million. It's actually significantly, well, it's decreased quite significantly since that time, and it is trending in the right direction. But we still have dollars that we would need.
Yeah, sorry, you sort of cut out at the very end, Mr. Matthews. I didn't hear the last couple of comments.
Sorry, Councillor Middleton Hope. So what I'm referring to there is that even though it's trending in the right direction, as council has put more money into the actual funding for the exhibition in December of last year, so the operating grant is just about 2.6 million, 2.9 million for 2024. I'm trying to remember on top of my head.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to that, and I appreciate you mentioning that, Mr. Matthews, because it's not that it is making money, it is losing less money. Is that fair to say?
That is exactly correct.
All right. I just don't want to put that out there that, of course, this is doing very well. It is just not losing as much as it was losing. So thank you for that. Councillor Dodick.
Thank you. When the exhibition LDE board came to City Council to approve this project, I went back and watched it, and the Myers Norris Penny was on the line. Okay, and so I just the reason I'm asking this question is that there's a big difference between audited financial statements and then accountants or firms who have been hired to do something specifically different. My understanding is that MNP was hired or worked on behalf of the Lethbridge and District Exhibition and was giving, I don't know how to put this, because there never was a report. My understanding is, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that there was never a report that has surfaced. Because I know that the administration never received a report, nor did council. But my understanding is that the purpose of that firm was basically to be given information by the LDE, and based on that information to determine whether or not the project makes sense. Although there was no my understanding is that at that point, you're just basically doing it almost like a hypothetical. Assuming this happens, what is the likely outcome? Is that basically your understanding of their involvement? Now, I appreciate you're in a difficult position because there's no reports. There was just simply someone available to answer questions on something that didn't exist.
Thank you, members of Economic Standing Pulse Committee and Councillor Dodick. So as part of the review components, those are the questions, some of the questions that we're finding, coming back and findings on it, was the actual engagement, I would say, for consulting work that was done by the firm was to provide some templates and background pieces and so forth is what we're understanding. There was no approach. It was actually the LDE administration at the time or board or group at that time that were actually completing that work.
Okay. I just want to make it clear, I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that MNP, that there was any impropriety. It's just that LDE did have consulted with a firm exactly the information that was exchanged, that's something we don't know.
To the best of our knowledge right now, what we know is that they provided information. And to your point, there wasn't a report in that fashion on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kingsmith, if I could ask a question, you just indicated that we are at 55% of the projected budget for next year?
That's
Okay.
correct.
So what does that?
Sorry, for 2025, for this year.
Oh, for this year, for 2025. So what financial amount does that put, what amount does that put us at? Just so the public can understand what 55% looks like in a dollar value?
Sure, if I can pull that up, I can get you an actual number. I don't have it in front of me at
Okay,
this
yeah,
second,
if you can
but I
pull
can-
that up, and
Yep.
I will ask Mr. Matthews a question in the meantime here. In the audited financials, Mr. Matthews, we do talk about how there is a change in accounting standards. And the city now controls the organization. And the organization transitioned from accounting standards for nonprofit organizations to public sector accounting standards. Can you help us understand what that means?
Yes, thank you for the question there, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel. So the change in accounting standards is to actually align with the city's accounting standards. So under the accounting standards for the city was the public sector accounting standards. So leaving it in the, once we've taken all the shares in regards to that, or have control of the shares on that. So that means that we have to consolidate into our financial statements. Therefore, because there's also a controlled entity of the city of Lethbridge, it also goes to the accounting standards for public sector accounting. Now that helps us going to that, because then it's in the same format, so we can consolidate it into our financial statements. So when we come through here later in April with our financial statements, these financial statements are part now of the city of Lethbridge's overall financial statements. So you will see a lot of discussion that in our notes and in our FSD&A, our financial statement discussion analysis on the city side.
Okay, and why would we do that?
Oh, yeah. So one, we have to consolidate it, because now that the city actually controls the shares and is a controlled corporation, we actually have to, under accounting standards, do that. That is part of the standards. And actually making the change actually then also aligns to our statements, so we can consolidate. That's the reason why.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, and then one final question before I go back to Mr. Kingsmith. Is this then a city department?
No.
Okay.
So it's still a separate legal entity. The difference is that the shares are controlled by the city of Lethbridge.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you for your patience, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel. We budgeted on this year about $885,000 in rental fees in the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center, and we're currently at $486,736 in rentals for the 2025 year.
486,000, you said?
Yes, currently.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, the $885,000 budget.
Perfect, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I see no further questions, but I will ask if there's anyone in the public who wishes to make a presentation. And remind you have 5 minutes to speak to the subject. Is there anyone? Please come up to the mic, state your name. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to let it make clear from the start that I have no problem with the LDE. I just have a little bit of a problem with what I perceive to be some financial shenanigans going on between the city and the LDE. In the 23-24 year, an unaudited statement showed a deficit of 2.5 million and change. The final audited financial report stated a deficit of approximately $3.249 million, an increase of $725,000 plus change. However, it does not include the reported grants of $458,000 plus of the revenue side of the ledger taken away the grant, and total deficit rise to $3.7 million and change. Then there is a $3.166 million that the LDD availed itself of from the $5 million the city made available for the 23-24 fiscal year. Add that to the deficit, and it becomes 6.8 million and change. Now, that total is only part of what the city has committed to the LDD. Let's not forget that the city made a few semi-annual loan payments on behalf of the LDD at approximately $583,000 each. And of course, the city simply forgave the LDD $7 million on a loan it is unable to pay back. So here we are 2 months into the new fiscal year, and already the LDD has racked up a brand new deficit of $527,134. But what about a 23-24 deficit of 6.8 million, or 2.5 million if you prefer? Does it just magically disappear? Ultimately, someone has to pay, perhaps the taxpayer. And what about the 23 deficit, 1.6 million and change? 2022 deficit was $658,000. So ultimately, again, somebody pays. Members of council, I'm suggesting to you that the LDD, for all intents and purposes, is bankrupt. In this saga, the city has become the borrower and also the lender. The lending part is not working out very well. As the borrower, the LDE, is unable to pay back the city, that the city claims to be saving $15 million by assuming the loan payments on behalf of the borrower, the LDD. So here's my question to members of council. Can any one of you explain to me how the lender, the city, saves $15 million when the borrower, the LDE, is unable to make the payments on the $17.8 million loan? And the lender, the city, assumes payment on behalf of the borrower, the LDE. This after having forgiven $7 million of that loan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Feenstra. Is there anyone else, as far as asking questions, the information is taken here. There may or may not be a response here, but is there anybody that wants to answer that? That has the information available? If is there a particular thing you want to add to that, Mr. Matthews? No? All right. So thank you, Mr. Feenstra. Appreciate you coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to make a presentation on this? For a second time, anyone? And for a third time, anyone from the public wish to make a presentation? Seeing none, we'll go into any further questions or debate from my colleagues. Seeing none, again, this motion does require a 2/3 vote, and it's by Councillor Middleton Hope. Is this for debate? Okay, so Councillor Middleton Hope to open debate.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to.
I'm sorry, Councillor Carlson.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just maybe to respond to Mr. Feenstra. Maybe Mr. Matthews wants to explain the loan process, or just a yes or no. It's my understanding that when the LDE could not pay the loan, it would have defaulted to the city. The city paid off the loan early and restructured it, and that's where the savings came in. Had we not restructured the loan, we would have paid the extra amount over the term. Is that correct?
Mr. Matthews?
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. That is correct, and what I'll say there on that is that so some of the confusion I think that's going on is that the total term of the loan for 30 years is where that other $15.5 million is in the future. The actual full amount of that loan was paid off in December of last year to the province. And of course, at the same time, council forgave the full amount of that loan of 17.3 to the exhibition. You won't see it on the audited statements today. You'll see that the audit statements actually has the amount because that's October 31st, not December. But you will see the subsequent note inside there in their financial statements saying that it was subsequently paid off and forgiven by the city of Lethbridge. The rest of the value, that's right, the amount there that paid off that loan to the province, what funded the project in the afterwards, was $7.3 million of funds or 7.1, I should say, that came from the MRSR, or came from grants, I should say, to pay off that component. And the $10 million differential on that was actually the the amount that was an internal loan to pay back the rest of the project. So all of that is complete in there, but there is 15.5 million of savings in long term against,
Thank you.
instead of just the principal that was outstanding of the 17.1.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that answer. Hopefully that helps. Thank you.
Thank you. The rest are in for debate. Councillor Schmidt-Rempel and Councillor Dodick. All right, so move on to Councillor Middleton Hope to open debate.
Yeah, so I think if you see the motion before you, and unfortunately it's quite small on my screen, but I think what we're being asked here is to move the reporting of the financials from a monthly basis to a quarterly basis. And I'll open it up for debate.
All right, Councillor Dodick.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to support this, but I'm going to make a couple of comments that it's sort of with reference to what Mr. Feenstra said, and that is because we're a city, a municipality. The term bankrupt facility or something like that has a different meaning. So in reality, if in fact this was a private facility owned by a private person, and they had the kind of debt load to pay that, and or had to come up with $30,000 a day to keep it open, obviously they could not do that. They would just shutter it and let the creditors come and take it, and a lot of the creditors would be left out in the lurch. But because it is a city facility, a municipally owned facility, the city chose to continue it and finance its ongoing operations. And there were two ways to do that. There were either by raising the taxes, and we've had this discussion before, by raising the taxes, which would be dedicated for 2% for a number of years, which would have raised, we'd have to open up our budget and go from the average of 5% to 7%. But there was an alternative, which was to use accumulated reserves and surpluses, which was used so that it wouldn't affect the ongoing, already approved increases in the municipal taxes. So the only reason I wanted to comment on that is that when you're dealing with a municipality, the words bankrupt and not bankrupt don't have the same meaning. The fact is that this facility cannot maintain itself and likely will never be able to maintain itself in the future. I know the optimists say they will, but I do recall the treasurer saying that looking forward that somewhere in the order of 45% cost recovery is what we were looking at. So I just wanted to make it very clear that the city was funding this facility because the will of the majority of council is that it's an important facility for the city and that the citizens want it to be kept open, despite the fact that it is costing a lot of money to do so. But I will be supporting this resolution, which is on reporting requirements.
Thank you, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Thank you very much. And can I just ask a question of the clerk before I go into my debate here?
Certainly.
Madam City Clerk, could you maybe help the public understand why we need a 2/3 vote on this one?
A 2/3 vote is required because we're rescinding the word monthly and replacing with quarterly.
Okay.
So that requires 2/3 of council to change a previous decision. The rest of the motion wouldn't require the 2/3. So if you wanted to divide it so that a majority just for the rest of it and 2/3 just for the quarterly, you could do that.
Okay. No, I just wanted that clarification there so that everybody could understand where we were looking at that. So I certainly thank the LDE board and staff for the work that they've done over the past number of months. It's a monumental task, and we see that we are losing less money than we initially were projected to, so certainly I appreciate that. However, given the issues that we're still working through on this issue and that we're still waiting on some reporting to come back to us, I'm not going to be voting in favor of this motion. It was a lack of oversight that got us into this position to start with, and I'm not quite ready to go to quarterly reporting at this time. So I will not be supporting this.
Thank you. I will be supporting this, and I appreciate the work that has come thus far. And I'll go back to what was I had mentioned many times over the past few years, that this is something, or the past couple of years anyways, isn't anything that any of us wanted to be a part of. It's frustrating, and it's never, that part of it's never going to go away. I'm happy to see what has happened thus far, with losing again less than we were losing before, not being profitable. But I liking this to be quite honest, as looking throughout the rest of the province and talking with some colleagues, that it's an important organization, an important building within our community, and similar to that of a YMCA, our pools, our rec centers, etc. If it's something that the community wants and it's important to the community, it may be something, and we've heard already, that would cost ongoing, and then it's not going to be self-sustainable as much as we all wish it would, along with the rinks and the pools and many of the things that we pay to have within our community. So I will be supporting this. I appreciate the work's been done. I'm looking forward to more information coming back on the quarterly reports, and so with that, we will. I think there's one more. Councillor Carlson, actually. I'm sorry, you're in, Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I can, it's one of the challenges of not being in the room. I can't get a good count, but as the clerk said, the second actionable clause needs 2/3. The first does not. So I'm going to make, just in case, I'm going to make a motion to divide.
All right, motion to divide is in, so we'll vote on the operative clause number 1 and 2 separately. And with that, Councillor Crozan, is there something you want to speak to this as a whole, or would you prefer to speak to? All right, go ahead.
I will be supporting this. I appreciate the need for good governance and for getting, regular reporting, but there's always that fine line between good governance and getting meddling into too much detail and into operations. And there comes a role when governance has to understand when you need to step back enough and ensure that staff actually have the time to get the work done. I'd rather do quarterly reports and ensure that staff has the time to do the work into marketing the exhibition and promoting the exhibition and doing the work of the exhibition, rather than bringing us monthly reports. So I will absolutely be supporting this in the totality, because what we need exhibition to do is go do the work of the exhibition and make it a stronger, better place moving ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Crozan. I see no further debate, but we will go into the first operative clause, and I'll read that off. That we'll be voting on is to rescind a portion of the March 12th, 2024 direction by deleting the word monthly and replacing with quarterly, so stating to provide quarterly a Lethbridge and District Exhibition operating report to the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee. So that is the first, and we'll do that by roll call if we can. Madam City Clerk.
Councillor Crozan.
In favor.
Councillor Dodick. Councillor Middleton Hope.
In favor.
Councillor Parker.
In favor.
Councillor Schmidt-Rumpel. Opposed. Acting Mayor Carlson.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Palladino.
In favor.
Mayor Hagan.
In favor.
And Councillor Campbell.
In favor.
7-2, that carries.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the second operative clause, direct administration to provide the quarterly Lethbridge and District Exhibition operating reports commencing with the June 12th, 2025 meeting of the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee. For a roll call, Madam City Clerk. We'll try without a roll call then. All right. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. You never know,
Mayor.
right? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councillor Carlson.
And I'm sorry, I may have been misunderstood, but did we skip the be it resolved that we receive for information?
We never did receive information.
As it would be in the second is what I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, Madam City Clerk? Yes. So
Just
that
as
is
I
that
didn't-
is in both.
Okay, excellent.
Sorry, Councillor Carlson, thank you.
You need to unlock your iPhone first.
Oh. All right, yeah, we received for information twice, Councillor Carlson. All right, I do have a resolution from Councillor Carlson that we enter a closed session. Be it resolved that we do now enter a closed meeting at 1:24 p.m. to discuss confidential matters with respect to item 7.1, provincial budget and tariff considerations, and 7.2, capital improvement program update verbal, as per section 21, harmful intergovernmental relations, 24, advice from officials, and section 25, economic and other interests of the Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. Councillor Carlson.
Call for the vote.
Question's been called. All in favor? And that's approved. Thank you.
one last call. We don't need a motion to ask administration to do that. Lloyd, you're good with just going ahead and doing it?
It's coming back, yeah.
Yeah, motion would be appreciated, actually. I prefer, I know, I would like a motion, actually, publicly, if we could. Yeah.
Okay. Could I ask then city clerk's office to draft one, and I'd be more than happy to sponsor it.
Motion for 7
All right,
minutes.
we're just going to be just a few minutes because we do have, we're working on one with Councillor Dodick, and then
Yep.
we'll bring that forward. If you want to, if you can send, okay, Lloyd, you know which ones he's talking about for John, obviously, that the motion after Rayco's? Works on a letter, but there's the motion coming from John.
There's a motion on the tax notice, then the motion on the surplus properties.
Surplus property, yeah. Yeah, on surplus property, okay. We'll take a few minutes. All right, thank you and welcome back to the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee meeting. I do have two resolutions coming out of closed, and we'll start with the first 7.1 from Councillor, our Vice Chair Schmidt-Rempel. Be it resolved that the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee received the provincial budget and tariff report as information, and further be resolved that the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee direct that the closed meeting documents, discussion reports with respect to the provincial budget and tariff considerations update remain confidential pursuant to Section 21, harmful to intergovernmental relations, 24, advice from officials, and 25, economic and other interests of the Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act. And further be resolved that Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee recommend that Council direct administration to prepare a report on tax and assessment notice options that include two separate notices and mailings for both municipal and education components and/or changes to both the assessment and tax notices, along with potential sample notices, with included costs for each option to return with such to the September 11th, 2025 meeting of the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee. And are there any questions? Seeing none, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel to open debate.
Thank you very much for this. What we're doing here is trying to make it easier for people to understand where the allocations for their taxes go to. And with that, I would ask for my colleague's support.
That question's been called. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Oh, yeah, that is unanimous. Thank you.
Yep.
And next resolution from Acting Mayor Carlson. Capital Improvement Program Update Verbal. Be it resolved the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee receive the Capital Improvement Program Update Verbal as information. Further be resolved that the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee direct that the closed meeting discussions, documents discussions, and report with respect to the Capital Improvement Program Update Verbal remain confidential pursuant to Section 24, advice from officials, and 25, economic and other interests, trade secrets in-house, developed software, proprietary interest in GIS mapping, or statistical data, financial forecasts, investment strategies of the Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act, and further be resolved that the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee recommend that Council direct administration to return with a closed report regarding the city's surplus property land holdings on or before September 11th, 2025 meeting of the Economic and Finance Standing Policy Committee. Acting Mayor Carlson. Oh, sorry, I have a question first from Councillor Crowson.
Not a question, a recommended change. We are assuming we have surplus property. I'd like proposed or possible or something in there because we haven't done any research to say we have surplus property. I'd still like potential. If that is amenable, I would recommend that as, because otherwise it sounds like, why are we having this property?
I'm good with that change.
All right, with that, to any, I see there's no problems with that. On to Councillor Carlson for debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one question, perhaps. On or before September 11, is that doable, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, it might not be all encompassing down to the minutia, but I think the key properties, yes, we can.
Okay, thank you for that. My only question on that was, I think that's our final council meeting before the election. Perhaps it would be better if this went to the incoming council instead of us.
So on this motion, I asked Madam Clerk to add on or before, because if I can get it back before that, we will. I just don't want to make promises I can't keep. Yep.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing further, I will call for the vote.
Question has been called. All in favor? And that is unanimous. And with that, we are adjourned. We are adjourned.
Thanks all. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
Your worship,
Yes.
would you look at my text message to you, please? Perhaps Ms. Hilford could also look at her text message as well.
I confirmed with the city manager, and it seemed to be captured in the motion that was before you.
Sorry, what motion is that?